Going live. Okay, week 5 of the Culture Club, and tonight we're going to be making water kefir, which is very high in probiotics. So as all of the other foods that we've made, sauerkraut, kimchi, and last week we made fennel, lemon and pepper with apple cider vinegar, and tonight we're making water kefir. If you're not familiar with water kefir, it's a drink that I tend to drink, and for me it's like drinking wine or champagne. I think it's probably got a very small alcohol content the longer you leave it, but it's a sweet fizzy drink. It turns sweet and turns fizzy when it's fermented. That's how you know when it's ready, and if it tastes nice, then it's for you. But then it's also for you to just experiment with other flavors and things that you can put in it. So I'm going to show you two ways of doing things. So first of all, we've got the ingredients here that are on your recipe list, and then I've got some water kefir that I've already made, and I'm just going to show you how I strain it and put it into a jar, and then how I keep it in the fridge. So that's that, and I'm going to add some ginger in with the kefir that I've already made. So I'm making a slightly different one tonight because I'm putting molasses in there, and blackstrap molasses is just full of minerals. So we're just going to give the little kefir grains, which are here, a little bit of extra minerals. And looking after your kefir grains is quite important as well. What they eat is sugar. So they turn the sugar and they ferment it. So they take most of the sugar out of whatever you put in that you're making. It's the same as anything that you're fermenting. It takes all the sugar out. So these are little, I don't know whether you can see them on here. Let me get a... They're like little jelly beads.
Yep.
If you can see like that. Are you familiar with them, Anne?
No, I'm not.
No, okay. So that's what we're going to be using, and that they kind of, in the bottom of the jar you can see that they've got a little bit more life about them. So they've absorbed a lot of the honey and the sugar that's in there, and this is ready to decant now. Alright, so these are water kefir, so we're going to put those in a minute. But the recipe that, sorry?
Where do you buy the kefir grains from?
I'm going to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to Happy Kombucha. They're about €7, and they send you a little sachet. I just tried it out myself about a couple of weeks ago, and they send them in a little jiffy bag, and they send them in the post. So I ordered 2 lots, and you can also order milk kefir. I'll talk to you about that in a minute, because next week we're going to be making milk kefir as well. So, which is like makes a soured milk, a fermented milk, which is just like brilliant for probiotics as well. Hence why we're doing 7 different weeks and 7 different ways of fermenting food. So I shall give you the link for. It's a company called Happy Kombucha, and I use it in the UK. If you know of somewhere in Finland, then you can order them in Finland. But I just happen to know them, and I did ask if they send them all around Europe, and they do. And it just took a couple of days for them to arrive here in France. In the recipe, it says refined sugar. The more sugary your content, the more these will grow, and they will just keep on doubling and doubling and doubling. Now, I tend to not just use the fermented sugar. I tend to like to use honey, but I don't use raw or because honey is a natural antibiotic, so it would actually kill off your little kefir grain. So it's kind of like, I don't want that. So I just use honey because I like honey rather than any other kind of sugar. Then I just use honey as my sugar, as my sweetener. You can also use maple syrup. What else do I have down there? Coconut sugar is also a good option. I had a list of all the other sugars that you could possibly... Oh, here we are. Coconut palm sugar, honey, maple syrup, as well as refined sugar. Coconut sugar is quite a popular one people tend to use, but most of the sugar content just disappears into these little kefir beans. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the honey in. I'm experimenting myself with trying to get less and less honey, but for me it's a really, really nice drink to have in a wine glass or something like that, because it's probiotic and it helps you digest your food. My boys drink it as well because it's slightly fizzy, so they like it, which is kind of good. So I'm just going to tip a load of honey in there. That is normally about right. I do have measurements on my recipe sheet, but if you've worked with me in the kitchen before, you know that I don't tend to measure anything. I go by feel. Now, because we want to speed this up a little bit, I want to make sure that the honey's melted. So I'm just going to put some warm water in there. I'm just going to stir that until the honey's actually dissolved in the water. Right, nothing else is sticking there. And we're also just going to put a tiny bit of blackstrap molasses because that is adding extra minerals. Sometimes the kefir seeds, they don't like too many minerals. They just want the sugar, but this is kind of good. Get that off there. There's a lot of different recipes out here for water kefir. Lot. Some people put in bicarbonate of soda. The water kefir crystals like those as well, so just a tiny bit of that. And you've got blackstrap molasses or molasses noir, which is the bio version and French version here. So you've got honey, blackstrap molasses, tiny little bit of bicarbonate of soda, some warm water just to melt everything down. Not too hot. I recommend that you don't use tap water. Tap water, because of all the chemicals in there, particularly the fluoride, it kills off the water kefir grains. So it's best if you can find. This is the same water that I use on the retreat. It's perfectly good water. It has a very low mineral content. Put that in there. And it's a very, very good temperature, just like room temperature. So I'm just going to tip in the water kefir grains.
So it should be like...
All it is, that's all you do.
It should be 65 degrees Fahrenheit, or should it be warmer?
Just keep it at room temperature. I mean, yeah, the official recipe says that it needs to be at a... again, just room temperature, but for 2 to 3 days, 48 to 72 hours. So what I tend to do then is cover that with a bit of muslin and elastic band. And I keep it on the kitchen counter like all my other fermented foods. So I just put that over there like that. What I've also done in the winter with these is I have several of these jars in a cool bag, because the room temperature wasn't that good. So I actually had them in a cool bag with a baby hot water bottle, and that just allowed the temperature to come up a couple of degrees. So that's that. You can see the kefir grains at the bottom, and hopefully they'll start to swell up. So I just put that to one side, leave it for a couple of days, and then that will be ready. What I tend to do is when I open up my batch, so for example I made this on Easter weekend, so it's Saturday I made this one. And what I tend to do is I just tend to sort of test it. And for me that's sweet enough. It could be a little bit fizzier, so you could leave it an extra day. But that works fine in principle. It shouldn't be any different to this one, but you can see this one I put more kefir grains in here, you can see that this one's got a little bit more in than that. But I intend to, yeah, they've both got the same flavour because they both have the same amount of honey and water mixture in there. I don't use anything metal when I'm decanting or doing anything to do with these kefir grains. Like I said, they are sensitive, and they're like the SCOBY for a kombucha, if you're familiar with that. You don't let metal touch them, so you wouldn't use anything metal to take out the grains. No metal sieves or funnels. I just use plastic for everything. So there's my glass bottle that I'm going to be decanting everything into. So just going to start pouring, and the sieve catches the little grains, all these big fat grains I should say. They're really clumped up. Now this lot can actually be probably halved now, so in other words that would make another jar. There's more than enough here, or you can give them away. Somebody else who you know that's making kefirs.
So you can reuse them.
Oh, it just keeps on going and going and going. They keep going. One thing that I was advised to do is every now and again, they're a living thing, so you let them hibernate. It's like having a little pet. So these are pretty new to me, so I won't need to do that for a while. And sometimes it's nice to alternate different sugars and things like that. That's also quite good for you to experiment which tastes and which flavours you like the best. And see whether your family like a particular one. Then it's nice, once you've got them on a particular flavour, then you can carry on going with that one for them as well. But they keep, in effect, they should keep multiplying, because when I spoke to the girl about a year ago, I said, look, mine aren't multiplying. She said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm using tap water. She said, well, they won't like the tap water because of the chlorine, so that will eventually kill them off. I said, I'm using honey. And she said, well, that's antibacterial, so don't be frightened of using sugar, or every third time use sugar so that they grow a little bit. And also sometimes if the temperature's not warm enough, then they also won't double and they won't grow. But most people who've got anything to do with these kefir grains, eventually you have quite a lot of them. So if you want to keep them for yourself or find somebody else who has them, give them away, or hibernate some in the fridge and then alternate them after a couple of months or something like that. And what I decided I was going to do with these two is I'm just going to add a little bit of ginger in there for the next couple of days, and I'm going to keep them out again. I'm going to keep them out again for another couple of days, and they can get really fizzy. Now what happens if they get really, really fizzy? They can explode, and you can use bottles like these as well, but always make sure that you've got a bit at the top for the gas. And what you can do is you can seal them, which is fine, but maybe every day you just let a little bit of the gas out. I made some I made some in my old house. I had a whole rack of them, and they couldn't fit in the fridge, so I had them all on a shelf. And I picked one up one day, and it just exploded. It went everywhere because it was so gassy and so volatile. So sometimes it's just good to do that. If you just put them straight in the fridge, they will they'll still ferment a little bit, but it'll slow down the process a lot. So you're dealing with something very live and volatile there. So I'm just going to cut some ginger up, because I think it gives it a nice taste. done with my lid. Yeah. I just tend to put a piece of plastic in between the, just to get a good seal. And the lid goes on top like that. So that I'll leave out, but then every day I'll just loosen the tap. Yeah, I don't even need to put it on hard. I can just leave it quite loose. And there's only a little bit in this one, so just put a little bit of ginger in.
So could you put lemon in it?
You can put lemon, would be lovely. Very, very nice. Lemon and ginger. Some people put, they might add, if they had a fruit juice, if they've made orange juice or something, they might add orange juice to this, or watermelon juice, or all sorts of other things, and then it's like a probiotic fruit juice. So they wouldn't necessarily just have that. They'd make sure that, you know, the rest of this bottle would be filled up with fruit juice. So there's lots of different ideas. So like if you've got a favourite juice or something, that's what you do. I'm not a great fruity, so I don't tend to sort of fill those up with fruit juices. But certainly you can do that. Certainly lemon would be lovely. I've lost my lid. Anyway, I'll find it in a minute. So these are the kefir grains from the ones that I've just decanted. So basically, you start all over again. You take your jar, you rinse it out. You can rinse off your kefir grains.
So why should you rinse it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either, but sometimes you get like a little bit of scum or something on the top, and it's just what they produce. They sort of they produce a little bit of scum sometimes. These ones were okay this time. Just give them a bit of a clean. Well, I've done that the other way around this time. So the honey will melt in there anyway. Dilute, I should say, not melt. So I won't put any warm water in there. And it's just a constant factory that just keeps going and going. And gently stir the water. And what I tend to do is I've got like little pieces of paper from a calendar that says that say the days of the week, because otherwise I get I forget what day I did certain ones. So like if I'm doing 2 today and I do 2 in another day, then I'll put the little piece of paper on top of these ones that said I did it on Tuesday, so that by Thursday, Friday, I'll be ready to have a look at those. But then Thursday, Friday, you start again. You make some more. So my fridge door is always pretty full of, you know, probably got about six glass bottles in there the whole time. I've tried using I had just palm sugar the other day, but I didn't like the result very much. So then you see that's another one ready. And once you get the swing of it and you've got everything, you know, in your kitchen, and if you like the results, then it's very easy to just keep on going. And the reason I like it is because I can have a drink of that, put it in a wine glass, and makes a change from water or water and apple cider vinegar, then I know that it tastes nice. It tastes like pears sometimes, depending on the honey. And yeah, so I drink that as my treat, and then so it keeps going. It is that easy, but once you've got what you need, so you've got your funnel and your sieve, you've got your kefir grains, you've got your jar, you've got whatever sugar you like to use. Again, keep alternating with that. Sometimes with a little bit of blackstrap molasses, sometimes with a little bicarbonate of soda.
So what's the point of the bicarbonate?
Apparently they really like it. The kefir grains, I was told when I ordered my my kefir grains last time, and she said, oh, and you can also add in a little bit of bicarb soda. And I watched a couple of other people make water kefir, and they were adding in a little bit of bicarb soda as well. So they like it. So I've got to keep my grains happy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just use a straw because otherwise you're tempted to put a spoon in, and I wouldn't want to put like a metal spoon in. So I use a straw, and that's my little kit. And that's it, pretty much. It's pretty good. So I can send you the link of the company that I get them from, Happy Kombucha, because kombucha is we're going to do that not next week. Next week we're doing milk kefir. So in other words, we'll be having raw milk. This week I made some goat milk, fermented goat milk, and it's gorgeous. And you have like little bags of milk kefir, and then in two days sitting on the counter, then it goes thick and it ferments, and it's like a yogurt. So that's what I've made this week. So I'll get some more raw goat's milk this week, so I can show you how to make that next week. So when you order, I'll send you an email. When you order your water kefir, order some milk kefir grains as well. And if you already know that you really like milk kefir, then get yourself two little bags of those as well. But I'll look them out and I'll show you which ones you need. So, easy peasy. How have you got on this week? Have you still taking your sauerkraut and your kimchi?
Yes, but I have some troubles with the pickles. They are a little bit too strong in vinegar.
Yeah, you said that in your email. Well, you can dilute that. You can just dilute it down with water if you want. You don't have to have total vinegar. I mean, obviously that's the pickling process, but you can dilute that down. Keep the liquid, the vinegar, because then you can use that in the next time you make something.
Yeah, but it's quite, the smell of this kimchi is quite strong in the refrigerator.
Yeah, it is. You've got a lid on it?
Yeah, I do. And you know, it's a glass jar with a seal, but still it's quite.
Yeah, I mean, your house is you've probably got a place that's cold enough to keep. If you've made a big batch of kimchi, you don't need to keep it all in the fridge. I keep mine downstairs in it's just the downstairs part of the house, like the boot room. You know, when you come in and take all your coats and everything off, so it's got no heating in there. And it's cool in the summer as well. So I keep mine in a cupboard down there. I keep my sauerkraut and my kimchi down there because it's pretty much a stable temperature. So if you make a big batch, you don't have to take up all your fridge space with your kimchi and your sauerkraut. And also because sometimes the kimchi can be very strong smell.
I might move it to the yard in a box because it's about 0, you know, 0 plus 4, so I can put it outside. I could also move it to the yard because in a box, in a cool box, because it's 0 plus 5 outside. I could move it outside.
As long as you remember when it gets warmer.
It'll take a while for us.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely the way to go. Have you noticed any physical difference if you're still taking your probiotics, are you, and still taking your cabbage?
I've been taking, no, I've not been taking probiotics, but I've been taking cabbage like every
Yeah.
second day. So I'm doing quite okay. And I have been also still very careful with my food at the office. So
Yeah.
I still break. And I can really see that, it's also a combination between the food and the mood. So if I really take the time and spend the time for myself to eat, the digestion is so much better.
Yeah.
So,
It's
so
just
I have my,
making little changes.
yeah. So I have my few small boxes. I go with everybody to the cafeteria. I take a tray, take plates, and I just make my own kitchen there, and everybody's watching what I do, and So, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
I know several people that, used to take their green smoothies and all those kind of things to work, and people would kind of look and stare, Like, okay. It's good to be different.
Yeah. And I think what I have in my plates is better than what they have in their plates. So,
Yeah. Well, they'll
But I'm
start asking to taste it soon.
sure. But well, especially today, I took some cheese with me, so I'm sure they would have gone for the cheese.
Yeah.
But
And then
yeah.
when your water cafe is ready, you can take yourself a wine glass and you can have a glass of wine at lunchtime as well.
I'm sure I will be reported to human resources.
Well, then you can let them have a taste and say, well, you try and find the alcohol in that then.
It's very strict here. It's a monopoly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
So you can't play with that.
Yeah. Just don't put it in a wine glass then. Just put it in a flask.
No, but I think the whole thing to try to keep a journal and then try to have a checklist helps me to prepare my food and get ready for the next day and have food for me. So when I come home, I really don't just go for the cheese or the bread or this kind of. I have things to grab immediately because I'm still quite hungry when I come home. So I need to eat.
It's possible for you to have something for you just before you come home, just before you leave the office, so that you're not ravenous when you walk through the back door?
Well, I don't know. I should think about it too. Or maybe some kind of bar. I should have something which is dry
Well,
that I could keep in a.
that, but you could also have like crudités of carrots and courgette and cucumber and things like that, because they're just easy. And if you just had like a few pieces of carrot or something like that, that might be enough. It's also got a bit of a sugar rush in there, that enough to sort of get you home, so that you're calm when you come home, and it's not so much of a rush to kind of get some food.
Yeah, but I'm a bit more calm than I used to be with the food. So because earlier when I came home, I was really just rushing to the fridge. Now I can take the time to think, what do I really want from the fridge? I'm not just going for the first thing. So it's a little bit more organized. I'm still hungry, but it's a bit. I have fruits also at.
Is that also to do with your perception of things? Your perception is changing about what you want and how you want to be, so you don't want to be in that place anymore. So you're obviously thinking in a different way, which is allowing you to sort of make those actions very different.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about where I don't want to be. I'm thinking where I want to be. So that's very different. That's a very big thing for me, to not go with the negative things. So I'm not thinking, is it the thing that I don't want? It's the thing that I want. So I've been going for food that I want, not excluding food, because I've been also very much conscious about food I don't.
Yeah. Well, then what happens? You get yourself into another negative spiral. So you get yourself into the spiral of like, well, I can't have this and I can't have that. And if it's good for me, it's got to be this and it's got to be that. And I'm not happy with this and that, and it's boring, So it's very interesting to understand how people perceive their food, and also if they feel that they're lacking in other areas of their life. So work-wise, career-wise, or something's happening at home, or like you, the winter you don't like, then if you're also putting that on your food, and sometimes the only thing that people have to look forward to is their food, then it kind of really does escalate that, well, geez, what makes me happy then? I can't even have that to eat. So what I always suggest is take away, don't ever say that, this food is a sin. If you want it, then eat it, but just be very, very appreciative of it, and while you're eating it, really, really enjoy it. And often when we start to do that, whether it's chocolate or whatever you're really, really wanting, often when you've had it, you kind of like, well, that wasn't as satisfying as I kind of thought it would be. So, well, okay, now that I've had it, I don't crave it so strongly anymore. And it takes that from a different angle as well, which kind of takes the pressure off.
And what I have noticed also, it's the variety. I had too little selection of food at home that I enjoyed. So now that I've been, taking care of the shopping and preparation, it's completely different, because now I have a choice. I can prepare this or I can prepare that.
Yeah.
So, mindset is in the kitchen is completely different. So like tonight, I spend time to prepare a tomato for myself. Remove the skin and cook it and make a nice tomato sauce.
Yeah.
I just spend half an hour with my tomato sauce and shallots and and I was surprised. I said, and this is just for myself, and I spent this half an hour on this tomato sauce.
Yeah.
So.
But that's really.
And I enjoy.
Yeah, and of course, and that's really treasuring yourself. Then you're kind of putting yourself first. Whereas I presume in the past, what we talked about in the past was that you taking care of everybody else. But now you're kind of starting to do things just for you and the things that you really, really like. So, yeah, again, when you start taking care of yourself, other things seem less important, and you're more fulfilled when you have taken care of yourself, even if it is just spending half an hour on a sauce, or I know you haven't quite found the movement or the exercise or a way of letting go that's really fulfilling you at the moment. I know you said you went swimming, but once that comes in as well and you start to really enjoy that, you really start to feel that you're nurtured and you've nourished yourself, and that's a completely different thing again. And then it's about the clothes you want to wear or your hairstyle, and it's just like, wow, I'm doing things for myself, and then you're not looking for somebody else to do those things for you because you are satisfied in yourself.
What I try also to take care of is the color of the food. To make sure that the color is appealing, and to have contrast in my plate. I have seen that I need to have contrast in the plate. So,
but isn't that interesting? You're noticing now so much more about what you like and what is appetizing to you. So tastes and looks and flavor and everything else, and how much attention you're giving it when you're cooking it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't feel that it's something that I do and I push myself of doing it. It's quite easy. It's coming like it's the thing I have to do. I'm not really pushing myself to do that.
No, I mean, do you enjoy being in the kitchen anyway?
Yes, I do. And I like to be alone in the kitchen.
Yeah.
This is really the place I like to be alone.
Yeah. But no, I understand that. I mean, in a previous relationship, I used to come home from whatever we'd been doing, and it'd be noisy in the car with the children, and I'd just start getting all the food out that I wanted for dinner. It might be 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and dinner might not be until 7 or something. But I just started chopping, and it was that conversation. What are you doing now? And dinner's not for hours. But it was my meditation time. It was my space, and nobody else was really in the kitchen or welcome to be in the kitchen or talking to me. I was just downloading, thinking, and really enjoying the process of being alone.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, if I get help at this point, the help is not really welcome because I have the things in my head what I want to do next. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, peel the potatoes, but I take care. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's lovely, and it's lovely that you're kind of finding your own space within whatever you're doing, you know, and it seems to be coming very naturally to you that you're finding your way. So that's great. I wanted to ask you tonight about if you know what level your stress is at. Do you know how to find out what level your stress is at? Say, like during the day, if you're able to.
Well, it varies very much from one day to the other. I mean, the stress level is very different. But like today in the afternoon, I was very uncomfortable with one of my colleagues, and we were the two of us in the room for 2 hours, and it was really getting on my nerves. So when I left the office, I decided, okay, I will go shopping, food shopping for tonight. And then my husband said, I will join you. And I was like, no. But yes, okay, he joined me. But I had to do half of the shopping alone. I couldn't do the whole shopping with him because I needed this time. So there is a stress during the day, and you know, food shopping or doing the laundry is releasing the stress, for instance. So at this moment, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say the stress is about 8. You know,
During the
it's
day?
not terrible. Yeah, it's 8 during the day. But
Okay.
then, you know I have weeks coming ahead of me, and I'm really much stressing for these weeks because I know that the 2 next coming weeks are going to be very, very busy, and I really have hard time putting in my mind how I'm going to organize it. So I'm also stressing for these coming weeks, and that's not good because you
All
know
right.
those
Okay. So first of all, we need to change your perception of the coming weeks. You can't change it, so you just don't worry about it. And the more worried you are about it, the more stressed you'll get about it. But I wanted you to, because you watched that the meditation I did the other week about just really, really relaxing.
Mm.
Yeah. So, for example, if you're able to get to a relaxed place, if you find that safe place, that relaxed place that I was talking about, and if you can gauge yourself at how relaxed you are at that end of the scale, so like that, say, for example, if that's a 1 or a 0, in, you know, how stressed you are. So you know what you feel like when you're in that place. So like, okay, I know where that place is. I know how to get to that place. I know what surrounds me in my safe place. So then you've already got a reference point.
Mm.
So then if you think about this afternoon when you were in the room for 2 hours with your colleague, and if that was about an 8, so just put it in your mind, that's an 8, but look, you know, what other situations have I been when I know that it's a 10, I'm at my absolute max, I'm going to blow. You know, so get to know your scale, right?
Yeah.
And certainly when you're sitting in the room with your colleague, especially you've got to be locked away for 2 hours and sort something out and its personalities are just not working, what you can do, and he doesn't need to know what you're doing, or she doesn't need to know what you're doing, or if you're in a group of people, they don't need to know what you're doing, or even if you're at the dinner table with people and it's getting you aggravated and you can't digest your food, I want you to get really, really good at knowing how to get yourself to your safe place. So you can still be sitting in that conversation, but you can just feel yourself pulling back, and you don't need to do it for more than 2 minutes. Eventually you'll kind of go, ah, there's my safe place. There I am. Now I know that I can relax and I can feel it in my body. I'm relaxed. I know that. So the situation that's going on in the room, is it their energy, is it their stress, or is it my stress? Well, it doesn't have to be my stress because I know how to get myself to this safe place where I can breathe, I can relax, I can think clearly, because often when we're stressed we can't think clearly and it gets worse and worse. So then you can sort of enter back into the conversation again, but you do it from a different place. And if something else happens, you can just, take a second, in breath, relax. That's his energy. I don't need to be in his energy. That's his energy. I know what my energy feels like, what I want it to feel like. I don't need to engage in that energy. This is just something that I've done when I'm sitting at a dinner table or something like that, when there's an argument going on or something like that, and I can't do anything about it, and it's just getting terrible. And I knew that at that point I could either overeat, I could get really stressed, and the only way to calm myself down at the time was to eat, and I used to eat more than I should. But now I'm able to just like breathe in and breathe out a couple of times and just kind of go, that's got nothing to do with me, and I'm not going to engage in it. I'll engage with it later when I'm in a better place, but if I engage with it now, it's going to be so much worse. Because what happens is if you get really stressed, your adrenals, you're on fight or flight, you really are putting an awful lot of hormones around your body. And some of the hormones would be cortisol. Cortisol is a major, major stress hormone. And when that's flying around your body, it's stress. It's just eating up any kind of nutrients, any kind of vitamin C and minerals. You're just depleted afterwards. No wonder we're always exhausted after we've been stressed. So it's a self-help mechanism, and also for your kidneys as well, because that's the adrenals, and the kidneys just get they get so worried, fearful, stressed that they can't operate properly. That's on a physical level, but on an energetic level as well. It's just like, I can't take any more. I've got no support. This is the lower back support as well. So I'm just teaching you something of what you can do for yourself that doesn't involve anybody else to get you into a different place so that you can cope on a daily basis, just to gauge, oh, wow, that was quite something. This is quite a stressful situation, so I don't want to feel like this. So you're beginning to get more aware. I can hear it in you when you're talking to me, getting more aware of how you feel about things. But this is just another step to kind of get you to a point when you know your own energy and you choose not to engage with stressful situations. You can walk out the room, you can leave. There's lots of different choices that you can make, but sometimes just by sort of breathing in and out will get you to remember where that centered place is. Do you know anything about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So, for example, if you've got like a hand signal or something, that's often what they use. Neuro-linguistic programming also kind of get you to step into a space so that your whole body recognizes what that feeling is. So when you're practicing to try and get yourself down to that safe place level, to get that very relaxed feeling, that you're still operating, but you're just not engaging in anyone else's stress, so that you know yourself how you feel. You can have a hand movement that is particular to that particular instance. You can just tap on your thumbs or something like that, and that sooner or later will engage, and you will be back into that safe place. So there's certain things that you can do with breathing or with anchors. It will get you through.
Yeah, and the person I was with is a man, and he's like a head shorter than me. And when he comes on me, I'm the one sitting, and he's at about my same height than me when I'm sitting. When he's standing, and I have such a hard time to not stand, because I know that if I stand, I would just be so tall. But I can really see
The dynamics of it.
the dynamic. But at some point I have to stand and to make him going down because he has to stop. He has to stop. But I can really see this dynamic, and when you are tall, sometimes you really have to pay attention to people who are shorter than you.
Yeah.
Because just by standing, you can just impress them and stop them, and so.
Yeah. But there's all sorts of ways of breaking their energy as well, like moving in your chair or doing something different that you would never normally do. Roll your chair back or go in a different place, other than so you can move around, you can bring your energy back into your body, but you don't necessarily have to stand. But if you do stand, maybe you just stand when you walk to one side. There's lots of different things that you can do, but I can understand that it must be very frustrating when somebody's trying to be a bully like that and trying to put their point across, that you don't obviously want to sort of do your thing as well.
But I have seen this afternoon, because he needed some help from me. I just didn't have any eye contact because I knew that if I had any eye contact with him, I was just going to blow. So I just show him the things without looking at him.
Yeah.
And this tiny little dog, he kept barking. It's really annoying when you are trying your best and the other one still is on your neck. But at some point, he understood that I was not going to engage, so he just left the room.
Yeah.
But it took a while before I got it. It really took a while.
But I mean, that's taking a big toll on your energy, and the only person I care about is you. I want to make sure that you are taking care of you in any situation. So you take the path of least resistance. So this just doesn't feel good to me. And it's not a question of winning or losing, as far as I'm concerned. My only concern is that you're looking after yourself and you're looking after your health. And if your health is jeopardized because you're working with people like that, yes, you've shortened your hours. Yes, you're doing certain things for your health. Yes, you're going to look at things in a different perspective. But when you're sort of like head on with somebody else that is just really clashing personality-wise, you have to start thinking about things in a slightly different way, because otherwise it's going to have a huge knock-on effect for you.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to speak to his supervisor because I have to put a stop to his behaving. So.
Are you still traveling quite a lot as well?
I'm traveling not that much. I'm traveling every second month. So now I'll be traveling next time in the beginning of May. I will go to the States for 1 week. Okay. Next week I'm just having a 1 day to Germany. So it's early start and late coming back home.
Yeah.
So that's the plan now. It's only this 1 week in May. But this is a big thing because I have to go there to teach Americans. It's not that obvious, I mean, there are several things which are difficult. There is the thing that we are just the Europeans and they know everything.
Yeah.
First difficulty. The second difficulty is that they will come from different areas, so they have different accents. So you understand what's going on. And then, the other difficulty is to make sure that they get the point. Because they have the same attitude than the Chinese with this, yes, yes, I hear you, but it doesn't mean, yes, yes, I understand you.
Yeah.
So there is a lot to do with them to make sure that, your point is going across and they will do what you say. Because we are only the Europeans, they are the Americans. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I don't care, because this is the thing I like. So I like to put my point across. So somehow, I like to explain something which is complicated. For me, it's fun that there is a mountain and I have to chuck it into pieces and make them, rebuild the mountain. This is something that I like to do.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned with that. I'm just concerned, you know, with the energy that I will need to spend to get my point across. So, but I don't know.
Work out a way of making it a game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a complicated game, but just a game for you personally. You know, by something, you know, by adding an extra word in there that you would never normally use or something. Just, you know, like a word game or something. I mean, just find a way that to change your perspective, to change the fact that you think it's going to be difficult, but change it so that you can look forward to it. Or yeah, well, I'll try that. But it's great that you kind of like, well, I don't care. You know, I do my best, and if they don't take it on board, then.
But I think I'm going to also play a game with them, because I have seen sometimes that in meetings, just if I bring a box of chocolates from Finland, I put the box of chocolate on the table, I open it, but I don't share it.
Yeah.
And I only share it by saying to the person that, well, if you have a good questions, you will get a candy.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's amazing. I've been throwing candies through the rooms, and they are like kids in a candy store.
Yeah.
And you know, if the question is not good, they don't get the candy.
Yeah. That means they haven't understood what you've been talking about, or they haven't been listening or whatever. So yeah.
So I just need to remember to bring the candies. But it's amazing that with adults you have to get to that level.
Yeah. I mean, everybody really wants to enjoy their life, Anne. I mean, it's the ultimate aim. Everybody wants to enjoy their life, and not 80% of your time is spent at work. You want to be able to enjoy your work as well. Yeah, sure, you want to do a good job, but you want to enjoy it.
Yeah, but you know, I really laugh at them when I have to throw the candies.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really enjoyable from my side.
Good stuff.
All right.
I'm going to let you go now.
Yeah. Good night. Thanks for your time.
And speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.